Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Introduction to Ethics. In today's episode, I'd like to talk about an applied ethical issue in which we can benefit from utilitarian principles. And the issue that I would like to take on will be animal welfare. Remember Jeremy Bentham's understanding of utilitarianism. According to Bentham, an action or policy is approved as it appears to have a tendency to increase happiness, and it's disapproved as it appears to have a tendency to decrease it. And Jeremy Bentham understood happiness as more pleasure and less pain. Putting this understanding into a better form, we can understand utilitarianism as holding that an action or policy is right to the extent that it brings about the greatest amount of good over bad among the options available to the agent, considering everyone and everything impacted. So this could be the definition of utilitarianism that we benefit from when we are using it in order to understand the issue of animal welfare. I would like to mention Peter Singer. Peter Singer is a utilitarian philosopher who believes that the utilitarian theory should be used to advocate for the welfare of animals as well as welfare of humans. According to Singer, there is no morally significant criterion to justify considering the interests of human beings while ignoring those of sentient, non-human animals. And when he talks about interests, he mentions some main interests as avoiding pain, enjoying pleasure, satisfying desires, and surviving. So Singer's basic argument regarding animal suffering holds that there is a pro tanto reason not to cause animal suffering. There is at least one pro tanto reason not to cause animal suffering. And here I would like to mention what pro tanto reason in ethics amounts to. So pro tanto moral reasons are moral reasons to commit to or to refrain from a certain behavior unless there are other morally more significant reasons to do so. For example, I have a pro tanto moral reason not to pull you by the arm. It's morally wrong for me to pull you by the arm unless there are other morally more significant reasons to do so. For instance, if you are crossing the street and did not notice the truck coming towards you, it's morally permissible for me to pull you by the arm because saving your life is morally more significant reason than the moral reason of not pulling you by the arm. So, using this understanding of pro tanto reason, Peter Singer says we ought not to cause animal suffering to non-human animals unless there are morally more significant reasons to do so. So from here on, I would like to discuss whether there could be any morally more significant reason to override the pro tanto reason of not causing suffering to non-human animals. Let's consider possible reasons to cause animal suffering. So these are significant moral reasons that might permit us to cause animal suffering. At least these are the candidates for such reasons. The first candidate is human pleasure. Let's see if human pleasure could be a reason according to which we can cause animal suffering. According to this principle, we should say that I can cause suffering to a non-human animal if that suffering creates pleasure for many humans. For example, think of bullfights. Bullfights create much pleasure for the spectators. People of all ages cheer and enjoy as the matador slowly kills the bull in the arena. Since utilitarianism holds that more pleasure is better than less, it seems like bullfight must be permissible according to utilitarianism. In order to prevent this result, we have to use an idea of ranking the interests. So utilitarianism can differentiate between pleasures in their relation to interests. And there will be 4 levels of interests according to this understanding. At the most important level, or at the first level, we have basic interests. These are the needs that must be met for the individuals to live and be healthy. At the second level, we face serious interests. These are the needs required for a good quality of life. For humans, this could be education, meaningful work, friendship, etc. At the third level, we have significant interests. Significant interests are the needs that improve an individual's life or opportunities. For humans, it could be having a good university education, enjoying food, exercising regularly, etc. At the fourth level, and at the least significant level, we have peripheral interests. These are mere wants, which do not affect the quality of an individual's life. For humans, for instance, eating a particular food or driving a luxurious car would be examples. So Peter Singer holds that more basic interests should take precedence over less basic ones when we are making the utilitarian calculation. More number of interests should be prioritized over fewer ones when they are at the same level. So in the bullfight example, the bull's basic interest of survival should take precedence over humans' peripheral interests of cheering and excitement. Therefore, bullfight is wrong as per utilitarianism. So we can use the example of bullfight or the reasoning in the example of bullfight to see whether any human pleasure can be a reason to override animal suffering, the pro tanto reason of not causing suffering to animals. And this will be one example for us to keep in mind to understand the methodology that's used here. A second candidate to be an overriding reason against the pro tanto reason of not causing animal suffering would be feeding humans. This principle can hold that I can cause suffering to a non-human animal if that suffering creates food for animals, food for humans. Most of our animal products today are coming from concentrated animal feeding operations, or shortly CAFOs, also called factory farms. In these CAFOs, or factory farms, animals are kept in small crowded areas, usually without moving much during their lifetime, being fed by whatever is given to them, going through painful exercises like being castrated or getting their beaks trimmed and being slaughtered in the end. None of their serious needs or none of their serious interests of these non-human animals are met. They cannot wander around, they cannot feed on the grass, or they cannot read their babies. In short, they cannot have a proper animal life. Some basic interests are ignored as well. Many of them get sick due to bad diets, due to overdose of antibiotics, due to fights among animals, because they do not have enough space to live, and they're also killed before they reach old age. So also, besides all these, eating animal protein is not a basic, serious, or significant need for humans. We can get enough protein and vitamins from vegetables and legumes. We eat animals just for their taste. This is a merely peripheral interest. Singer's utilitarianism defends that more basic interests should take precedence over less basic ones. Hence, we should say that eating animals that are kept in CAFOs or animal farms or factory farms is not morally permissible. So this was the second candidate reason to override the pro tanto reason of not causing animal suffering. And as you can see, if an animal is kept in CAFO in a factory farm, it's according to this utilitarian principle, it's not permissible to eat that animal's meat. So let's look at the third candidate, which could be research. According to this understanding, I can cause suffering to a non-human animal if that suffering helps research. Some animals are used in cosmetic research to find out whether a certain cosmetic product is harmful to the eyes or the skin of humans. Since cosmetics is peripheral or at best significant interest, it does not precede the basic interests of health or life of an animal. Therefore, causing animal suffering for the sake of cosmetic research is not permissible according to utilitarianism, according to the principle that we have just discovered, or according to the principle that we have just examined. How about scientific clinical research? One reason for conducting scientific clinical research on animals could be saving the lives of numerous human beings. Since Singer's utilitarianism holds that more number of interests should be prioritized over fewer ones when they're at the same level, we can conclude that scientific clinical research on animals can sometimes be permissible. For example, when there is a serious prospect of preventing a life-threatening disease for many people. But unless the basic interest of humans are in question, clinical research on animals would not be permissible according to utilitarianism. This ends the episode. Thank you for watching.